Ever wonder how a great empire really falls? It's not always with a big battle or a sudden invasion. Nope. More often than not, it's a slow, quiet, and predictable economic collapse. Today, we're going to break down a pattern that's repeated itself for thousands of years, and we're going to see why every single warning light is flashing red for the United States right now. What does that mean exactly? It means you're living through stage 5 of a 7-stage pattern. A pattern that destroyed Rome's money, that crushed Britain's power, and is now pointed directly at the US dollar. So the question isn't if the dollar is next, it's when and what happens to your life savings when the rest of the world finally loses confidence. All right, so here it is. This is the playbook, the roadmap. It plays out pretty much the same every time. An empire gets powerful, then it gets greedy. It overextends its military, its budget. It starts spending way more than it brings in. And how do they pay for it? By devaluing their own money that always leads to inflation, then a loss of trust, and then, well, you see step 7. Now look, this isn't some wild theory. It's literally written in the history books. To see where we're headed, we got to look back at where others have been. So let's start with the big one, Rome. For a long, long time, the strength of the Roman Empire was the strength of its money. The denarius, their coin, was the world's currency. If you had one, you were holding real, solid silver. That trust, that was the foundation for their entire economy. So how did it all go wrong? Well, to pay for never-ending wars and crazy spending, the emperors started cheating. They secretly started mixing cheap metals into their silver coins. What started out as nearly pure silver ended up as a piece of junk metal with a thin silver coating. That, right there, is stage 4. Currency debasement. And the fallout from that? It was a catastrophe. I mean, think about it. If your money becomes worthless, why would you sell anything? The economy just stops. The government, having destroyed its own currency, couldn't even pay its army anymore. The empire basically rotted from the inside out. Okay, let's fast forward to the British Empire. Their collapse was shockingly fast. They were drowning in debt from 2 world wars, so they abandoned the gold standard. By 1944, it was official, the US dollar took over, and after that, just one humiliating devaluation after another that completely destroyed faith in the pound. And here's the key takeaway. Britain didn't lose its empire on the battlefield. It lost it on its balance sheet. They went broke. Their currency collapsed, and the empire just dissolved. Same pattern, different century. Which brings us to today. The exact same warning signs that popped up in Rome and in Britain, they are flashing bright red right here, right now for the United States. The same script is playing out again. For the US, you can almost pinpoint the exact date it started. August 15th, 1971. That's the day President Nixon slammed the gold window shut, just like Rome watering down its silver. The US cut the dollar loose from gold. The currency was now backed by nothing but faith. And just like that, stage 4 had begun. And this is the result. Over $36 trillion in debt. That number is so big it's hard to even imagine. But it's not just a number. It's the bill for 50 years of spending money that we just don't have. But look at the chart. The really scary part isn't just the total amount of debt. It's the speed. It's accelerating. It's going vertical. This kind of explosive growth is the absolute classic sign of an empire that's deep in unsustainable spending. So, how do you pay for all of this? The simple answer is, you don't. You just create more money out of thin air. They give it a fancy name, quantitative easing, but come on. It's the modern version of a Roman emperor secretly shaving a little silver off each coin. It's just debasement on a digital scale. And what's the one thing that always happens when you print trillions of new dollars? You get stage 5, inflation. That 9% number from 2022, totally predictable. Your money buys less because they just made more of it. It's not a mistake in the system. It is the system. It's a feature of the pattern. So this brings us to what might be the most dangerous stage of all. Because the rest of the world, they're not stupid. They can see the debt, they can see the money printing, and they are, very clearly, starting to lose faith in the US dollar. You don't have to guess. Just look at the data. Central banks all over the world are slowly but surely backing away from the dollar. Back in 2000, over 70% of the world's savings were in dollars. Today, it's down to just 58%. This is a slow-motion bank run on a global scale. And they're not just selling dollars either. Countries like China, Russia, India, and Brazil, they are actively building a whole new separate financial system. They're literally creating their own plumbing to trade with each other and completely bypass the dollar. And let's be fair here. For a lot of these countries, this isn't some attack on America, it's just common sense. It's self-preservation. I mean, would you keep all of your life savings in an asset you knew was being devalued on purpose? Of course not. You diversify. And that's exactly what they're doing. So this is what it all boils down to. The historical pattern, it's crystal clear. The data doesn't lie. The only thing left holding this whole system together is belief, trust. And trust is a very, very fragile thing. Stage 6. That's the tipping point. That's when this slow decline we're seeing suddenly goes from a small leak to a catastrophic flood. It's the moment the world wakes up and decides the promise backing the dollar just isn't credible anymore. And once that confidence shatters, you can't just glue it back together. You know, they say history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. Well, this pattern is undefeated. It got Rome, it got Britain. We are deep in stage 5, watching the world actively prepare for stage 6. The pattern has never been wrong, so the only real question left is, how much time is on the clock? Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to the channel to support us.